Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Angry Dave podcast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Stevie Iraq.
Steve's back today. Steve, how you been, buddy?
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of months,
Yeah,
Had a little issues I had to deal with, personal issues, but we're looking good now.
looking good?
Yep.
You feeling better?
Yeah, much better.
Good. How do you feel about asking people for help?
You're a bastard. You're going to start with that, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start with.
No, not all. That's not who I am. You know that, and you knew
Uh-huh.
my answer was going to be that.
Uh-huh.
I suck at it, and you have pointed that out to me more than once, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, I love you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I
You
appreciate
look you look good. All right, so we don't have anything in particular to talk about today. I just pulled up some topics. Maybe we'll just have a conversation. Steve, you should plug your microphone back in. That'll be helpful if you do if you do that.
I'm asking for help, Dave.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking for help. All right. So today, as we are uh, taping this podcast, it is 9/11. And it is the 22nd anniversary of 2001, 9/11, 2001. You remember where you were in 9/11?
I do. I was driving into work from King of Prussia, and I was on the Schuylkill Expressway. It was jammed up, and the first plane had already hit,
Yeah.
and I was stuck in traffic coming up on 30th Street. And there was a guy broadcasting on the radio. I was on the car radio, and he was broadcasting from a helicopter. And you could hear his emotion, and he just started yelling, "There's another plane! There's an oh my god, oh my god!" And then you heard the second plane hit.
Wow.
And I was looking around at other cars, and there were people crying, just with their head down on the steering wheel. It was crazy.
Yeah. So I was in law school. I woke up. I used to watch. I think I had a 9 a.m. class. I used to watch the news in the morning. What time did the first plane hit?
I want to say like 8:30 ish.
Yeah. So I saw the first plane hit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I left for school. By the time I got, so it was probably a 9:30 class, but by the time I got to school, the second plane had hit.
The second one was I want to say a couple minutes after 9.
Yeah, that sounds right. So then I went up to class, and then they just canceled class. But the big thing that I remember also is that Temple Law School is it's 90 miles away from New York, so there's a lot of New Yorkers that or North Jersey people that work that come to school there. So there's people running out of there screaming and crying. It was really really a sad day, and I left there, and I remember that they were talking about how they thought that they had planes all over the country and that they were targeting major cities.
Yeah.
And then there was also an idea that they might target the subways, that kind of thing. I don't know if you remember that, but I walked from Temple to 20th and Walnut, which was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles.
Remember, those rumors were flying all that morning.
Yeah,
I had a conference, and I was in City Hall, and they closed the courthouse and sealed it, and
yeah,
I had to show my ID to get out.
yeah,
Um, and there was I don't know what uniform the guy was wearing. It could have been a city cop, could have been I don't know, but they had an automatic weapon, and they were checking people on the way out. And then the rumor was the Independence Hall was going to be a target. The Libertyville
right,
was going to be a
right,
target.
yep,
And that's only a couple blocks from where I was.
right.
And I'll never forget this one person was telling me that the gallery was on fire. And I'm
Yeah,
like, no, I'm looking at it. It's not on fire. Stop.
right.
I'm right here.
Yeah, so I walked to 20th and Walnut because my wife was working there at the time at the Irish pub on 20th and Walnut. It is now since closed, but I walked there and she worked her shift, and you could traffic was gridlock going out of the city into out of the city. Nobody was moving on Walnut Street. I mean, literally nobody was moving. The cell phone towers, nobody could get reception. You remember?
Yes, I do.
And I sat in that bar, and it was quiet, but it was like it was a very quiet day, but it was almost comforting in some ways because we were all just basically watching the TV and drinking our fucking faces off.
I remember being in a group of people when the tower fell, the first one,
Yeah,
and no one made a sound.
yeah,
And it was about 30 people, and no one, it was just utter disbelief.
yeah. And my next memory really is I don't know how long it was, maybe a week later, when the planes start going back in the air again.
Yep,
And I remember being like scared when I heard a plane go overhead
I remember that too. And
because
that
the only planes that we heard were like jets, like Air Force jets.
that week was so quiet because there was no planes.
Yeah,
And you know, Philadelphia has a major airport, and there's constantly planes around, but you didn't hear anything for a week. It was so eerie and surreal.
yeah. I think I was. I think I was. Well, I think I was downtown at the time. I'm not sure if I was downtown or if I was in South Philly. No, I think I was. I don't know, but it doesn't. I think I was still in South Philly. So yeah, I was still in South Philly, and South Philly is basically planes are always flying
Yeah.
over, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, it was really disconcerting when I heard the first plane again.
One of my friends from college worked in the Pentagon,
Yeah,
and I didn't reach him until 2 days later.
yeah,
And I was dating Kim then, who lived in Yardley, and a lot of her friends commuted to New York. And one of the husband of one of her best friends, who was a good guy, who was friends of mine, um, was in World Trade 10, the
wow,
smaller one,
yeah,
and he lost his car. He lived obviously and
yeah,
got out, but before and World Trade 10 went down as well.
yeah. Later, right?
And he was called. His wife called him after the first one. He didn't know he was in a conference room
Yeah,
and said, "You got to get out of there. There's a fire." He's like, "Oh, there's a fire." Like, no, and he went out. And the story he told, um, he couldn't tell the whole story, but when people started jumping,
yeah,
he said that you heard the crashes of the people crashing into the the um, the atrium, the
yeah.
glass atrium, and you knew what it was. He said that he couldn't look back because he heard the screams of the people jumping out of the towers and landing, and he said he was shaking when he was telling the story.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. I mean, it's just horrendous. I remember seeing it on TV. You remember seeing it on TV?
I do.
And I remember thinking, oh, they're going to be safe, and then you're not realizing that they're jumping like 10 floors. You know.
10, it was like 70.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah, right, whatever.
And firemen that got caught. And when the first one went down, our first thought was there's thousands of people
Yeah,
trapped in those floors, but the firemen got a lot of people out. You know, people realize that they did get a lot of people out. Um,
yeah, yeah,
and there's so many people that saved the day in more ways than one, and a lot of them perished, unfortunately.
yeah. Well, one of my friends, his brother was working like construction downtown in Manhattan, and was a few blocks away, and was living with only a few blocks away at NY, like near NYU, and like he was covered in soot. His mother didn't hear from him for like 3 days.
There was no cell tower.
Yeah,
I mean,
he literally walked out of Manhattan, and
literally the cell towers was on top of the World Trade Center.
yeah,
That's was main part for cell phones, and when it
right,
went down, there was no cell tower.
yeah. So yeah, it was just an insane time. I mean, and the world has just changed everything almost about the world. Just flying and getting getting into federal buildings. Everything has changed, and our relationship with the world has changed as well. Just so dramatically. I think.
I agree, and I have strong feelings about two of the aspects of that. One is we became much more scared
Yeah,
as a country, as a world, as diplomacy. We became more scared,
yeah,
and the other thing is I really feel like we lost an opportunity.
yeah. Well, I think that I wrote about this today on a Facebook post about that feeling of unity right afterwards.
Exactly.
Now, again, you and I probably couldn't be more opposed with George W. Bush's general policies, right?
Hmm.
But after 9/11, it didn't matter. Like, it just didn't matter. Politics were not a thing. for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe.
After 9/11, his approval rating was 91%.
91%. Think
And,
about that.
and and that's the thing that I say we missed an opportunity
Yeah.
because not only in this country but the world around us,
Yeah.
people felt like uh, they felt sorry for us. They felt united with us,
Yeah.
and we squandered that, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
and we had an opportunity to say, okay, for all the people that are for righteousness and freedom and everything else, let's all unite.
Right.
And we missed it.
It's the opportunity that we didn't fuck up after in World War II.
Yep,
You
I
know,
agree. And
we,
but this was literally around the world.
yeah,
Even our quote unquote enemies were saying things like this is wrong. It was
right.
universally condemned.
And then we just got scatterbrained, and just when we start to fight old wars,
Well, that's
and
how I got my name.
that's how you got your name. It is. That's exactly how you got your name,
Exactly. I mean,
because we decided to go into Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction, and Steve's like, there's no evidence of that, and the whole Afghanistan thing, and not having a plan. Uh,
look, I'm by no means like all flowers and dove and love. No, I believe we should have gone after bin Laden. That's who did it. That's who we take out. And
right.
it should have ended with that, and we should have brought everybody home. Iraq was a different situation. There were no weapons of mass destruction. They were not responsible for 9/11. They had nothing to do with 9/11, but it was just conflated into the war against terror.
Right.
And that became synonymous with, well, let's go finish some old fights and let's protect our oil and a bunch of other things, which I don't want to get too political about.
Yeah.
But there's another aspect that really, that fear created. And that is, there was no, for those of you who don't know, there was no Homeland Security Department before 9/11. Okay. That was created after
That's
9/11.
right.
So they started doing all kinds of wiretapping and
Yeah.
FISA warrants and all this other stuff. And I don't want to get too political, but
The Patriot Act.
yes. And
Look it
lost a
up.
lot of privacy because of that. And I understand, there's going to be a few people that are going to say, well, if you aren't doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's not true. We know wrongful people get wrongfully convicted of things every day. That happens every single day, for better or worse. Our that's why privacy matters.
Exactly.
And that's why the law and the right against self-incrimination, and that's why all those amendments matter.
I agree. And there's to take it even one step further. It hurt an entire religion.
Yeah.
Islam is one of the most peaceful religions. The people that perpetrated this crime happen to be extremist and Islamic. That
Right.
doesn't mean that Islam is evil, far from it. And if you want any proof of that, talk about Christians and the Crusades and everything else.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, we all have our warts, right? Or all of our religions have their warts.
exactly.
Um, you know, I'm I'm not anti people who practice religion. I am in my life anti organized religion because I don't see any real value to the organization of it other than to subjugate people. But in any event, that's my own personal opinion. I certainly don't think that we should treat people unfairly because of any religion that they practice. It's your right to believe in whatever you want to believe in.
And that fear caused anybody who
Yeah.
might have been wearing any kind of Islamic garments or any kind of Islamic beliefs.
And not even that, like just Sikhs that couldn't be any less Islamic
Yeah.
because they look different.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
and people were mistreated and beaten shortly after 9/11 and then many years since.
Yeah.
And that was the missed opportunity because there were many, many people who practice Islam and other religions who condemned it just as heartily as anybody else would.
And in many ways, we only strengthen the hatred over time, because over the last 20 years, because we go into Afghanistan, make a ruckus there, and don't really fix anything. We do the same thing in Iraq, and then we just sort of leave, and then it's just a fucking shit show again. like it was, when the Russians tried to do it, right? I mean,
exactly. And
yeah,
I mean, just I would like somebody just to think about this. You're a peaceful citizen of Iraq or Afghanistan, and the United States is there militarily, and a bomb comes in and hits your house. Do you really care who the fuck did it? No,
or
you
for
don't.
what reason they did it, right?
Right,
It doesn't,
exactly.
yeah,
Which side? Now you're going to hate America. You're going to hate this country with a passion that you lost family members, and so you breed a whole new generation of possible terrorists in the future. There was no real big benefit.
yeah,
I mean, like I said, go after Bin Laden, absolutely. Go after his organization, absolutely. The money, the people that funded it are still sitting in Saudi Arabia. So why don't we go after that?
well, yeah,
Because of oil and other things.
right.
But it is such a shame. Like I said, we missed an opportunity where there was a chance to really unite this country and countries around the world, and I think we blew it.
And yeah, separate from the world, we are at such a far place than we were in December of 2001 or January of 2002 when we were a united nation. We really were a united nation, much like we were probably in World War II, right? We really had that opportunity to to do that, and by the time we get Bin Laden several years later, we don't even celebrate that together as a nation because it became too political.
It's odd, and I think it was more than a few years. It was a while. I was at the Phillies game
Yeah,
when they got Bin Laden.
yeah. And people were very excited about it, right? But then almost immediately social media took over and it became some kind of divisive thing where, oh, well, Obama doesn't deserve credit or something like that, or whatever the fuck that was. Who cares? We got him.
That moment, I'll never forget that moment because we're not watching TV. We're at the baseball game, right? And all of a sudden, you know how it is. Somebody has a cell
Whispers.
phone
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
starts going around, and then you're watching the monitors from behind, and you see, a headline, and all of a sudden, spontaneously, at the Phillies game, USA chants started,
yeah,
and it went on for a while, and it
yeah,
was hypnotic, and it was wow, we finally there's some justice.
yeah. You remember after 9/11 when they reopened baseball, it was particular that there would be people walking around the stadiums with the American flag.
Yes,
You remember that?
wearing FDNY hats and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's just long gone now. Now it's like, now it's red state versus blue state, and if you're in a blue state, we hate you. If you're in vice versa in a red state, we hate you. It's just everything's so ultra political. And again, it's just it's sad to me. It feels like not only a missed opportunity, but maybe a lot of it was just all for naught.
yep, and nowadays you can sit in your own little cocoon, only have people that agree with you on the news or get your news that just agrees with you, it reinforces your opinion. There's no open
Yeah,
mindedness. There's no approach to the other side, quote unquote, the other side.
yeah,
And it really is. And here's the dangers. When you start saying that if you don't agree with me, you're un-American,
yeah,
and that's exactly the opposite, because this country is built on people that disagreed and then resolve those differences,
yeah.
and you reach out and compromise. That's what this country was built on. And now, if you don't agree with me, you're not American.
And liberals and conservatives have value in an open society, right? Because it's differing points of view, um, and it's both valuable. Sometimes it's good to let things stay as they are because it's right and good, and sometimes it's good for change, right? So, and you need to have that struggle, but it's a struggle, that you have to agree that everybody has the right motive in mind. Right, but right now we don't. If we disagree with each other, we villainize each other. Everybody's a villain. Like you're stupid, or you're dumb, or you're crazy, or you're un-American, or you're whatever you want to call them, and you're fucking mean. But conversely, when you do something like this and talk to people, in a private setting, we all genuinely basically agree with what the problems are.
Mm,
We might disagree on how to get the solutions or what the cause of the problem is, but not necessarily what the problems are or what we all want in life, right? We all want the same goddamn
exactly.
things, no matter what religion we are or no religion or what nationality or what, end of the political spectrum we are. We all want the same things. We all want to be happy and have a, nice quiet home where we can go on vacation and live in peace. That's all of us want.
Yeah. I'll say something controversial, then I'll say something that I think is pretty obvious and not controversial. The controversial thing is we have degenerated into a situation where people disagree just by who is saying something.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't think anybody can deny that.
If a Republican says it, it must be wrong if you're a Democrat. If a Democrat says it,
Yeah,
it must be wrong because you're a Republican. The second thing is, and the second part of that is, it dehumanizes people, and it's the point you just made.
yeah,
This is the uh, not a very controversial thing. Everybody loves their kids. Everybody wants to see them safe.
right,
Everybody wants to have a home.
right.
Everybody wants to be left alone and be happy.
Yep,
Everybody wants that. When you start villainizing people and start demonizing them, you lose the fact that everybody's in this together.
yeah,
And we may disagree on how to do that,
right,
but what has happened is there's no middle anymore.
right. And it's come to a point where we can't even agree on a fact, something that's so obvious. If a certain person says it, if a blue or red person say it, only half of us can believe it, even if we know it to be true.
And I'll take it one step further. If if I'm a Democrat, and I am, so I'll admit it freely, if I agree with a Republican on a point,
Yeah,
my own Democrat side, whatever it is, quote unquote, air quotes, says I'm wrong for agreeing with them. Well, guess what? People on all the different political spectrums make good points. And
yeah.
okay, nobody has the
Steve, you saw it with me. You saw it in open in on Facebook land in Facebook land.
Mhm.
Me lose friends because I literally said Donald Trump is not Adolf Hitler, guys. That I said that made me lose friends in the middle of the Trump administration. Again, I am I there's not everything that Donald Trump says I don't disagree with. In some ways, he says a lot of truth, even though he's lying most of the time. And but in he speaks as Dave Chappelle said, he's an honest liar. And if you go watch his special when he talks about that, he'll explain it better than I can. But in any event, I don't agree with almost anything the man says, except for the fact that he is not that good at being terrible, right? He's not Adolf. Adolf Hitler has a special place in hell in the history of the world. Everybody that's mean is not Adolf Hitler. So that's the only fucking point that I made. I literally lost friends by making a very simple point that is the fucking truth.
It shows you how extremist everybody is. It's an absolutionist. You are either
Yeah,
all for us or
right.
you're all against us. There's no middle ground.
And I can't ever be that way. And I'm never going to be that way. I don't really, I vote more Democrat than I certainly do Republican. But if I find somebody that is a Republican that I can believe in, I will vote for that person. I haven't found that person recently, but I would consider it. In any event, I really consider myself very as socially liberal as you can get, and economically moderate, not certainly not conservative. That's my stance, and I want you out of my life, and I want fiscally responsible policies. That's it.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
That's who I am. And anybody that, speaks some ring of truth, I'm willing to agree with them, whether my Republican friends or my Democrat friends like it. And it's funny at the same time, like I'm having that conversation, and at the same time, I'm fighting with all my Republican friends to let them know that everybody that's out protesting isn't an evil piece of shit.
Yeah, like I said, absolutionism. It's just it's painting everyone in with the same brush. That's it.
Yeah, well, it just makes it easier that way, and that's also how the Adolf Hitlers of the world come in power.
I wish. I mean, it is dehumanizing. I wish that rather than having political debates, you actually talk to people without knowing their political beliefs for a little while
Right.
and see who they are, and then all of a sudden you can start talking about politics later, and you might have a little bit more respect for them because they're just everyone is wants the same things like we talked about.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy's dad. It was at his Labor Day party. His buddy's dad who has a place in rural Virginia, and lives up here. Lived up here for a long time, but he um, he started talking about something and got in a big argument with this guy's wife oh, he's a liberal. Oh, he's a liberal, and that was enough. That was it. Like they couldn't talk anymore.
It's like liberal is a curse word and conservative is a curse word. They're not. It's just,
Yeah.
by the way, I don't particularly like labels to begin with,
Yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, again, it's all or nothing. I don't know where we.
And what is the actual agenda anyway? Like, does anybody get a pamphlet?
I don't know. I'm a member of a club, and I don't know all the little secret initiations and everything and
Well,
secret passwords.
that's the funny thing too is that in a lot of these situations, like now Democrats are war hawks and Republicans are anti proxy war. When did that happen?
I don't know, but it was the other way around,
For
supposedly
our whole
before.
fucking lifetime.
Yes.
For our whole lifetime. I mean, John McCain is the biggest proxy war person ever, right? I mean, like he was a war hawk forever, and people loved him. But now, and again, I am anti-war, so I don't think that we should be, the world police. But all of a sudden, that's a Democratic issue now.
Yes. Just for the record, who
Yeah,
went into
I mean, Republican issue.
who went into Iraq the first time? Who went into Iraq the second time? Who went into Afghanistan? Who went into just on and on and on. It's and this is facts now. Go check. It's mostly Republican presidents that do that, and the Democratic presidents end up getting us out. That's just historically what's happened.
That's usually the way it is, right? But again, now we're certainly fighting a proxy war with Russia. I mean, that's happening.
It is.
Um, and should we support the Ukraine? I guess yes, we should. We did push the buttons there, though.
Um, I don't know if we pushed the buttons. I think that we missed an opportunity to stop it earlier,
Yeah,
and that was Obama. That war hawk Democratic Party didn't do anything. I mean, that's the thing that really kind of irritates me. On the one hand, you're going in there into Ukraine supporting people that have been attacked. And then the same people are criticizing because, well, Obama should have stopped it when it went in Crimea in 2014. Okay, you can't have it both ways.
right.
Did we push buttons? I'm not so sure. If you look at it from the Russian perspective, they're surrounded. They
Yeah,
have this history of paranoia, probably rightly so. They've been invaded many, 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 many times,
right.
and I get it. But
Well, we did have like a handshake agreement that Ukraine wouldn't become part of NATO, that kind of thing.
yeah, but we also had, and I don't know if many people know this, there was agreement. Ukraine had nuclear weapons,
Right.
okay, because it was a part of the Soviet Union when the Soviet Union broke up. As a term of that agreement, to give up their nuclear weapons, the West made security guarantees to keep them safe.
Right.
We screwed that.
Yeah, we did.
We walked away from it, and that's what should have been done in 2014. Is said, no, you can't do this.
Right.
I understand people that are hesitant about supporting Ukraine. I understand, but the alternative is a expansionistic Russia. And do you want to send troops or do you want to send weapons?
Yeah.
And right now, I'm for sending defensive weapons. I don't think that we should be sending them huge missiles that could hit foreign Russia, but they're getting that wrong, by the way. They're manufacturing them, but um, I'm okay with being the arsenal for democracy rather than democracy's policeman. So
Yeah. Well, me too. I mean, it goes. I mean, I can get on my rant about the middle class, and if we really wanted to solve issues we always have enough money to solve issues when we want to solve them. We can print it, like if the market crashes and we need to help Wall Street, we print the money.
Yep.
If we need to save the real estate market and all these real estate companies that are they're giving out loans, we do it, and we just give them the money. But if we want to poverty, we not well, education. We're like a fucking 100th in education or whatever the fuck we are. Certainly not top 20. We can't solve that issue.
But forgiving student loans, Dave, is way too expensive.
Oh,
It's just way too expensive to do that.
Steve, here's my thing about student loans, and I listen. I paid back. I took $120,000 out of loans. I've been paying back for 20 fucking 2 years. I paid back my loans. If you do the compound interest rate at 3.5 to 4%, you pay back like 166% of your student loans. I am over that 100% mark. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for, can you stop taking the extra money from me? And again, I'm not the person that you need to save. I'll be fine. But there's a lot of people out there that paid a lot of fucking money that have paid their loans back twofold. How about you just fucking stop that? How about we do it at a 1 or 2% interest rate, or how about we do it at a true interest rate? Again, compound interest. If people don't understand it, it's not it's not 4% or 7%. At 7% interest rate, you're paying back 200% of the loan over 30 years.
Yep.
I mean, that's a fucking highway robbery. I mean, when it comes to, if you're really, again, it's not robbery. I mean, I would do it all over again. Obviously, I don't end up where I am without that loan, right? Uh,
Exactly.
but it's not an unforgiven loan, because the way it is now is I can't even claim bankruptcy on it, like fucking every other corporation can do any fucking loan that they get. But
It amazes me that we are talking about making a profit on something that should be something that the government should provide a lot of. I'm not saying for free,
right,
but okay, if you pay back 100 and I know interest is compounded and inflation makes the value of money change over time. I get it. So how about stopping at 120% when you pay that back rather than 200% of your loan?
right,
I mean, because over the life of your loan, you're paying back so much, especially in the beginning. It's almost all going to interest.
yeah.
How about just giving a helping hand? I don't understand why student loans became a profit industry.
Well, yeah, well, because it's good for the loan company, for the loan servicing companies. I
Yep.
mean, that's why, because it's good for corporations.
Aren't they on the stock exchange? Sally Mae, they're on the stock. Why? They shouldn't be for profit. It should be a service by the. Listen, I'm going to be labeled an anti-capitalist, but why not just make that self-fulfilling? Like it just makes enough money to keep it solvent.
Aren't bailouts anti-capitalist?
Oh, don't get me started.
Aren't they?
Well, if they're too big to fail,
How's it too? Again, and I go back to the market crash. I mean, the real estate market crash is a complete easy opportunity to make everybody whole, right? So if the loans were going, if the loan companies were going insolvent, why don't you give the money to the people and pay back their mortgage, and that the money goes to the loan company? Now I have a house, and they have the money for the mortgage,
that makes way too much sense.
right? But no, no, they just got free money, and we all still had to pay back our mortgages, even if they were underwater. There was no fucking forgiveness. That made no sense. Again, when we shut down the fucking world for a year and a half, right? What do? We give we give regular people fucking peanuts,
Yep.
and we give corporations billions of dollars.
By the way, and I'm talking even just smaller, like law firms
Yeah,
that
uh-huh,
took that COVID money
yeah.
and laid all their freaking people off.
So or law firms that never missed a day of work took the COVID money, and then so they didn't have to pay it back. They didn't fire anybody, but they reduced everybody's salary. and then they got free fucking money.
Yep.
And there's plenty of companies out there, like I don't know, food places that food delivery places that got money that they and probably did the best they ever did,
Meanwhile, in-house restaurants are all folded.
all folded. Yeah, yeah. Downtown Philadelphia was a fucking ghost town for 2 years.
Yes, it was.
It's starting to get a little bit better, but it's taken a long time because again, there was just choices made. Certain corporations won, and everybody else lost.
Yep, exactly right.
And it really didn't. Big box stores were allowed to stay open. There's no chance of getting COVID in a fucking box store. Nothing ever bad happened in a fucking cesspool like a fucking big box store.
I, we got on this topic from 9/11, but wow, we just went on a rant, my friend.
No, but I don't like mom and pop stores couldn't fucking stay open. Like the local hardware store couldn't be open, but fucking Home Depot could be. It made no sense, Steve.
No, a lot of
None.
it did.
A lot of, I mean, again, I understand I don't even want to get into the COVID fight or, who is responsible and whose fault it is. The idea is that there was winners and losers, and the government chose them,
It's true. It
and
usually does.
it always seems to benefit the people with the most money.
I think Dave is like 2 years away from going into the state of Montana and writing a manifesto.
All right, enough of that shit. All right, I'll move on. So, I don't know how we got off of that. Anyway, so when I was with the fucking vegetable man, Stevie Bananas, the other day, we talked about our definition of sport. How do you define a sport? What is a sport, Steve?
To me, you need some type of athletic ability.
Athletic ability, one.
Okay. And you need a competition.
Competition, two.
And here you go. You need to keep score.
You need to keep score. All right, you need to keep score. So is pool a sport?
Ooh, no, I don't think so.
And why not?
I think you need an athletic ability. I mean, I know you're going to talk about, the angles and being able. I don't think so. But when we're talking about this topic, I
Yeah,
think something up.
yeah,
And this is going to blow your mind.
yeah.
In 1999, the International Olympic Committee, which I think is a good source on what is a sport,
Barometer?
said that chess was a sport.
Oh, fucking.
Not kidding. Look it
Are
up.
you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Why? Why? Because you have to breathe?
I don't know, but they made it an Olympic event, and
It's not.
it was
No.
labeled a sport.
No. Checkers, not a sport. Again, a competition.
Athletic ability.
Right.
You need athletic ability. This is my definition, right? You need athletic ability.
Is cheerleading a sport?
See, I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say yes, because I'll tell you what, they are athletic.
They do have competitions now.
And they have scores and they have winners, and I'll tell you, they can do things that are pretty damn athletic.
There's no question about the athleticism. I don't
Mhm.
think anybody can question that. But I used to not think that like things like cheerleading and gymnastics, and maybe that's the chauvinist in me, or sports because it took a judge to determine the winner. But you could say that about MMA or
Ooh.
boxing.
Yeah, you could definitely boxing.
But there's a way not to be judged in those sports. That was always my line. I disagree. I disagree with my old point of view. I do think that they are sports. There's so much athletic ability involved, and it is a competition. So I believe that it is a sport. I don't like the fact, or like figure skating. It's definitely a sport, but I don't like the fact that you can't win any other way than through a judge.
Agreed, and there's always controversy. I mean, there should be a clear-cut winner.
Right. There should be some way to determine a clear-cut winner.
Agreed.
That's my only
But
rhythmic dancing, rhythmic gymnastics,
wow,
rhythmic.
I think if you're going to go with gymnastics of being a sport and cheerleading being a sport, then I think the rhythmics get their day in sports as well.
How about like jazz competitions, dancing competitions?
Okay, you're not seeing this, but he's actually doing jazz
hands,
right
yeah, jazz hands.
Pushing my buttons.
Yeah, no, I want to see how far we can go. I don't think that can be. That's not real. It's not.
if you're defining it by athletic ability and skill and
Tap
what,
dancing.
no, you've done it.
You've got
That's it.
that.
That's it. You hit the
All
limit.
right. Yeah, none of those games. It's bowling. Bowling's not a sport either. I'm sorry.
I would say this.
Right? You think you need athletic ability?
I do. I do. You're basically rolling a 10, 12 pound rock down an alley, and you got to put it in the right spot. I'm sorry.
NASCAR?
I'm not sure. Look, driving for two. Look, you
It's
know how fast I
hard.
drive. You know how
Yeah,
fast I drive.
it's hard.
Yes,
It's again,
but
chess. Chess is very hard,
you got to make a lot of left turns, dude.
dude. But you can be 400. You can be a big fat overweight guy and play that professionally. You know what I'm saying? Like John Kruk was the exception to the rule in
Yes.
baseball, right? But you don't have to be athletic at all to be a NASCAR driver. You have to have hand-eye coordination, but it's not really athleticism.
Stamina.
Stamina, yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so.
yeah. I
I
don't
don't
think.
think driving a car is.
I don't think. How about driving a an animal like horse
Horse racing.
racing?
Ooh, I think the horses are athletes,
Horses are definitely
but
athletes.
I don't.
Are they?
I
They're
don't know.
not.
I don't know. It's kind
I
of
don't know.
absurd.
I'm on the edge on that one because those little dudes are little. First of all, because I like them because they're little. Because I'm
There you
little.
go.
I mean, I'm not little wide, but I'm little tall. But they have to like fucking stand up the whole time.
That's true, and
It's pretty athletic.
it's pretty tiring too.
Yeah, but that's on the borderline there.
But the horses are.
Fucking chess is not a fucking sport. It is very hard. Is golf a sport? Well, golf's a sport. Yeah, I
Golf
mean,
is a sport.
it is.
It's a lot of athletic ability, and
Yeah,
and you see some of those guys nowadays. They're kind of ripped. Some of them.
yeah. And they're fucking crushing balls 350 yards.
Yeah, it takes a lot of that.
All right. I think we solved the world's problems there.
Yep. Sports and economics and more.
So Laura asked me to ask all my guests from now on how they define respect. How do you, Stevie Iraq,
Hmm.
define respect?
I think um, it involves tolerance of someone else's views, beliefs, traditions, religions, point of view, whatever it is, and accept it. You don't have to agree with it.
Right,
I will point out that respect is not the same as agreeing with, or
right,
you can still disagree, but I think you have to be able to say, hey, you're an individual, you've got those views, you've got those beliefs, whatever it is, you can have them.
yeah.
Um, it's interesting because it ties back to our other conversation. Respect would go a long way in helping a lot of that stuff. Just
What would it? So, and saying it another way, how would when you feel disrespected in life, in work, in private life, what is it that makes you feel disrespected?
when someone isn't hearing or willing to listen to what I'm saying, that I
Yeah,
think is the biggest disrespect.
yeah,
You don't have to agree with me.
right,
Just let me get my point out, or let me say what I'm going to say, or let me believe what I want to believe, or let me, for example, going back to our political conversation, if I disagree with you, I'm not a bad person because I disagree with you. Respect that view.
right.
So that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
So
How about like in the world, like if for people that don't know you or just like out in the world, what are things that feel like disrespectful when you're dealing with the general public?
mind your personal space, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's somewhat cultural can be
yes,
at times, but
Europeans are a lot less hung up on personal space than we are
oh
because
fuck, they are. Yeah, they are.
they live so close to each other, and they really. I mean, at a bar, it's like everyone is literally nose to nose.
Yeah,
But I don't want someone in my personal space.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's lack of respect. And then, I'll talk to people, and maybe I'm being disrespectful, but I'll talk to people wherever. And like, I love to talk to people in elevators because it makes them extremely angry.
that's and listen, I would I like conversations in elevators. It's fine. I don't. I fucking hate when people are talking on the phone or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, that's good.
or you know, or like on
That's
the
disrespectful. You're not paying attention to the rights of other people to not hear your fucking
right.
conversation.
I guess that. Oh, I think I've said this in various ways, but that's what annoys me most about human beings is when they have no sense of anything that happens outside of their own head.
Yes.
When they are only consumed with what is happening inside them and can't see how they affect the world. That drives me bananas. And that's ultimately the problem I always have navigating this world.
When people are self-centered, they don't, the world stops at their nose.
I take so much time and effort to try to navigate the world in a respectful way.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I always succeed, because when I lose my temper, I'm the most
Really?
insensitive,
When does that ever?
disrespectful human being on the fucking
When,
planet.
when does that ever?
Oh, less now than it
Yeah,
used to.
I definitely agree. But I'll give you another take on the whole cell phone thing, right? When
Yeah,
people are talking on the cell phone, especially if they have like an ear thing in,
yeah.
and you don't even know they're talking on their cell phone right away. The whole cell phone thing makes it much more difficult to tell who's fucking crazy.
Oh, it does.
Because before when people were talking to themselves, you knew they were fucking crazy.
Yeah, isn't it the first thing you look for is somebody to have something in their ear now?
Exactly.
I can't. By the way, here's a little bit of a rant, but the earpieces, whatever. Like, you're not that fucking important. Get the fucking earpiece out of the ear. Would you stop wearing the headphones in your fucking own personal theme music when you walk down the street?
Everybody needs walk-up
I
songs.
mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Really? You're that fucking important? You don't even have, didn't even put your fucking pants on right today, and you're that fucking important. You need a fucking earpiece in your ear that you can't stop and take a fucking phone call for a minute.
It's really good to see that you're not disrespectful.
The self-centered, Jesus Christ. I don't even, the fucking Apple Watches. Fuck the Apple Watches. You got an Apple
No,
Watch?
I do not have that.
Oh, good. All right, fuck everybody has an Apple Watch now. I don't fucking care. Like, pick up the phone. Spend 2 minutes and go to the side. I'd be fucking walking and watching you fucking talk, and then not you can't hear because you got something in your fucking ear walking across the street with your fucking theme music where you're almost getting hit by cars walking in the fucking buses.
You're not wrong. I'm with you.
All right. What do you feel about How do you feel about technology, Steve? This is off the topic, but I've been ranting about you for fucking years now about your anti-technology or anti fucking. I know I no I found out that you finally got a Venmo.
So
I'm very proud of you. It
actually, I love the fact that it bothers you so much.
drives me nuts.
Purposely did not tell you that I got a
I
Venmo.
know. I found out the other day.
Yeah,
I
a
I,
couple years.
I ran it like 2 times since you've been here about your Venmo problem.
About me particularly?
Well, you and Bob in particular, because up until last year, it was like, you guys, I had to fucking give you cash, or you
Dave,
had to write a check.
I want to write you a check, right? So
I'll
bad. I
fucking,
really.
I'll fucking shit on your check.
You know what else I love?
What's that?
Leaving you voice messages.
That's the other thing. I don't.
Dave gets so pissed off.
Just text me. I don't listen to your voicemail. I'm never listening to your voice message.
Doesn't. And then one day he sent me this long rant back at me. I said, "You know what I'm doing? I'm leaving you a fucking voice message. You know why? Because I fucking hate you." And it just went on and on and on. I played it for my friends, and at the end, he goes, "I love
I love you, Bob.
It's a true story.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous. I have voice messages. I don't listen to them. If you need me right away, just text me. He does it now, though. I've bullied you into.
That was the last voice message. Although every now and then I will try and do it just to piss you off. Just like I didn't tell you I
I'm
had
sure.
Venmo.
Johnny, my uncle John doesn't have fucking Venmo yet. He still leaves voice messages. He won't answer text messages. He got to fucking call you. God forbid. I mean, I love you and I want to talk to you, but not on the fucking phone. Can't you just text me and I can go do other things? I got ADHD, bro. Like,
That's true.
I can't fucking focus on one thing. I can't. It's hard.
That's true.
It's hard. If I'm doing one thing, I can't focus on this other thing going on. I got to be able to like take 10 minutes, look at my text messages, text you real quick, and then go back to what I'm doing.
True story. True statement.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about my return to baseball. You know that my brief my brief retirement from men's baseball is about to expire. Uh,
I heard Tom Brady was very proud of you.
I did.
Retire.
I retired for a full year.
That's true. You did.
What your thoughts?
I knew it would happen.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't know it would happen this quick. I'm glad it happened because I thought you'd really miss it.
yeah.
Um, and
I didn't really miss it up until the playoffs.
really,
Yeah,
and then what?
and then I felt really shitty that I wasn't playing in the playoffs.
Wow.
I don't know what that was. I do miss it. I do always miss the guys, right? But I really missed it at that competitive time.
Yeah, it's true.
But what I think, and I don't, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because Bananas didn't believe that this could be true. However, I think I've come to the belief that I'm going to have more fun like I did in the beginning because I don't have to run anything anymore.
I absolutely think that is 100% true.
So I successfully backed my way out of running everything. I left it in really capable hands, and I can just show up and I can help as needed, but not. I don't have to be responsible for anything.
I've done the same.
Yeah,
Not involved in any kind of managing or coaching and everything, and I just show up and have a lot less to worry about.
it's and again and you're the same way. I enjoy being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it very much. I did it for a long time,
Yep.
and it just became so much of a habit and not always to my benefit.
I agree with that.
Um,
You would
and
stress.
yeah, I mean, it became stressful and mostly not amongst the guys really necessarily. Every once in a while it would be, but like at home, like you know what I mean. I would be missing out on things because I'm worried about fucking men's baseball
And you're worried about lineups, who's showing up and who's not doing what.
and collecting money from who and finding a field to go where.
Exactly.
Listen, there's nothing worse than finding baseball fields and collecting money from grown men.
Absolutely true.
Miserable.
Mm-hmm. Especially if they don't have bandwidth.
Especially if they still want to write you a fucking check.
I
Jesus.
haven't written a check in a long time. Although I just wrote a check for my house repairs, and my bank called me and said,
Are you sure?
What's this check?"
That's fucking funny. All right, let's talk about this escaped prisoner from where? Bucks County? Where?
No, it's Westchester, so that's
Oh, Chester County.
Chester County. Yeah.
Chester County. Escaped prisoner gone for like 10 days. Scaled a wall to get out of the prison.
Did you see how he did it?
I did.
The crab crawl. That for those of you who can't see us, he put his hands on the wall and his feet on the opposite wall, and basically crawled up the wall and got out.
And he was only like 5'4". He's like a little dude.
He is a little dude. And not only that, someone had done it before. And what their solution was, they put some razor wire at the top. Now, I don't know how the guy avoided the razor wire, but he got out.
Yeah, he got out and he murdered his girlfriend, stabbed her to death in front of her kids. So this is not a good human being.
After he apparently killed someone in Brazil first.
Yeah, Brazil, right.
Yeah.
He's still wanted there. So he's been running around Chester County for 10 days or so, and they can't fucking find him. He stole a car, ran that until it went out of gas, and I don't know where he is now. But
couple of things. First of all, he's a Ring camera celebrity because he's getting caught on people's Ring cameras.
yeah, he's going to like former coworkers' houses and shit. Like,
but the most bizarre story and scary. I don't know if you heard this. My niece told me that. My niece goes to Westchester. They were locked down. But apparently he went into this house to rob them of food.
yeah,
And there were people in the house who heard him. And the guy said, in order to like kind of scare him and let him know that we knew he was there, I flashed the lights on and off. So you know what the motherfucker did?
turn them right.
He flashed the lights back at him.
Oh man, that's
And I would be like, okay, take whatever you want. Here are my car keys. Go.
yeah.
And he flashed the lights back at him and took a whole bunch of food. And that's how he's living. Apparently, he stole like a bunch of vegetables and dried peas and all this other stuff. And he's living out there in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive. There's a lot of people looking for that motherfucker.
For real. Enforcement.
Yeah.
And they can't find him. And this is, I mean, for those of you who don't know, the Longwood Garden is apparently where they think he's hiding now. This isn't like the swamps of Florida.
Right.
It's woods. I'll give you that. It's woods, but it's not like, inaccessible.
No, it's not inaccessible, and it's Chester County where, it's a pretty populated place. I
Hmm.
mean, there are farms and woods and stuff, but it's not hundreds of miles of woods
No,
where you can get lost.
no. I don't know how they haven't found this guy.
Yeah, it's pretty
And they,
ridiculous. So somebody said today, all those people they're gonna sue the government. Steve, as a lawyer, do you think that there's a private cause of action for allowing someone to escape and then locking your town down? Yeah, no,
whenever people say, "Can I sue?" I always say yes, because you can sue anybody for anything.
that's right.
Do you have a case? No, you do not. You
Yeah,
need you need damages. You need identifiable damages, and you need them to do something wrong.
yeah, that's a case that will be thrown out on the pleadings.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
pretty
it
sure.
will.
Not even getting to summary judgment. Summary judgment is taking evidence and then looking at the evidence in light most favorable to the person who is suing and saying, even if I believed everything that you just told me and you proved, you still lose. But this is the type of case that would get thrown out even way before that, just looking at the pleadings and saying, even if you could prove all the things that you said in your filing, you still lose.
Yes, it's silly.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they
Plus,
say
government,
that.
by the way, government has immunity for most things.
Yes,
Just so everybody out there who might be listening who wants to sue the government, there's certain private causes of action you have. They are very limited.
yes,
And even when they are not limited, they are often limited by the amount of money that you can win.
that is absolutely true. It's called sovereign immunity. And
So
you can't sue the government for a lot of things. I mean, there's only a few causes of actions you can do against the government. This is certainly not one.
certainly not one of them
No,
for being negligent on the way that they secure their prison.
yeah, that's not going to happen.
You lose. All right. How about Philly sports? What's going on with? How do you feel about the Eagles' first win
Mixed emotions. Glad they won. They didn't look pretty doing it.
now?
16-0 early on. A couple of touchdowns from set up by the defense, but geez, they couldn't stop Mac Jones. Mac freaking Jones. They couldn't
Yeah.
stop him.
Well, I mean, I don't blame the defense in any respect because they were just on the field the whole game. The offense couldn't do anything. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts admitted it that they were just basically confused that Belichick confused them the whole time.
I think they took a lot of the run pass option away. And
Yeah.
I, look, they scored 16 points, right? The first drive, they had a good drive. The
Yep.
offense had a good drive, but they stalled. So
Right.
they only got a field goal. All the other points that they scored, the two touchdowns, one was a defensive touchdown, the other one was set up by a fumble. The defense won that game.
Right. And then they had one long drive where they got a field goal late.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
so they had two really good drives, two short drives, and that's about it. For the first time in Jalen Hurts' career, he went three and out four straight times.
I saw that, and that was amazing. Maybe Belichick is a better coach than I was giving him credit for. I always thought Tom Brady was more of a factor than Belichick was.
Well, he's a very good defensive coach. I don't know that he's the greatest offensive coach in the world. You know what I mean? But he's always been good at defense. I think that's what I would say. That Brady had as much to do with, or more, probably more to do with the winning than he did.
And look at what happened since he's gone.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, two things can be true at the same time. One is the defense did win that game by the defensive touchdowns,
yeah,
but Mac Jones had like 350 yards.
yeah. I know.
And what receivers?
No, he's no.
I can name Bourne because I've seen him before. I play fantasy football. Who else is in New England? Juju Smith? No, is
No,
Juju on there?
they got Hunter Henry now. I just realized
He's
that.
a,
Yes,
tight end.
who's decent.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
opponent had Hunter Henry. Had a nice game.
Juju Smith Schuster,
Yeah.
Schuster Smith, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have big players.
No,
And Mac Jones threw 350 yards in a couple of.
they did shut down Ramondre Stevens though,
Yes.
so who is probably their best player.
And you know what really upset me?
What's
I mean,
that?
I'm really torn up about this. Ezekiel Elliott fumbling. That's so upsetting.
Uh, yeah, no, I mean, I, I think that it proves that not playing these guys in the preseason is going to have an effect.
I agree.
Again, I don't know what the stats say about injuries and reducing the amount of injuries. I guess if you're not playing, you're not going to get injured, right? But I don't know that it reduces the amount of serious injuries in the regular season. I don't know. I don't know what the stats say, but there's certainly going to be repercussions if you don't get to practice at real speed.
they came out flat. But if you look around the league,
Everybody did. Yeah.
the offenses were terrible.
Yeah. Except for a couple teams.
Dallas and San Francisco are two big rivals in the NFC, or they played well offensively, but everyone else was
Yeah.
very mediocre.
Yeah. Not. I mean. Yeah. Cincinnati got fucking.
Yeah, I took Cincinnati's kicker on my fantasy football team in the other league,
Yeah.
and I figured, well, they're going to have a great offense. No, they did nothing. They did nothing. Now Cleveland has a good defense,
Yeah.
but they scored 3.
Yeah. No. Nobody expected that.
No. Mm.
I actually made it to the second week of my survivor pool.
Congratulations. That's on McGoldie like.
I've tried like about 4 years in a row. Uh, well, I stopped playing. I did like 2 years in a row. I lost in the first week. I didn't play for a year, and then the last 2 fucking years, I got bounced in the first week. I think I made it to the second or third week one time in a survivor pool.
Well, I won it once when it was smaller, and I've made it to the top 10 a couple of times. I have a couple picks, and I keep a pick in my dad's name because he loved it. So I
Yeah.
keep a pick in his dad's name.
That's cool.
He went out.
Did he?
So, yeah.
I picked Baltimore this week, so I won this week. I don't know who I will pick next week. My theory is very basic. I look at the point spread and pick the one
Highest favorite?
the highest favorite generally.
You will run out of good teams pretty quick doing it.
I guess you will, but I just want to get past week 2.
Aim high. Aim high. Getting back to the Eagles, though, I will tell you one thing that's very different than years past. They didn't play well.
Yeah,
They were flat, but they won.
but they won. Yeah,
And in years past, that was not always the case.
and New England's going to turn out to be a above 500 team. It's not a terrible team.
I don't think so.
You don't
And
think so?
The reason I don't think so is look at that division.
Yeah,
Buffalo, Miami,
yeah.
and the Jets.
I guess they're all pretty decent teams. Yeah.
I don't see them. I don't see them winning the majority of those games. So if you're under 500 in your division, that means
Yeah.
you got to go pretty much well over 500
I
in opposition.
I predicted that their Jets are under 500.
Really?
Yeah, I don't believe in.
Well, I will say this:
Yeah,
they've had a defense for a while.
oh, yeah,
They've
yeah,
had some skill positions. What hurt them last year was quarterback,
yeah.
and now they have Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't been that good the last couple of years.
Well, he's also distracted and completely, playing mind games.
Right. So we'll see. Can he come back from? I don't know. Is he truly invested? We'll see.
Tonight,
We'll see tonight.
yes,
We will tonight. You got well tonight where we're taping.
yes.
I'll try
Sorry.
to get this out by Wednesday or Thursday. But how about your Phillies?
Did you see the game today?
I didn't see the game today.
Well, they had a doubleheader.
Yeah.
They played one in the afternoon. I didn't see it, but I was following it on my phone. They're down 8-4
Oh wow.
in the 7th inning. They scored 2 in the 8th, and Harper hits a 2-run home run in the 9th to tie it. And the fucking bullpen gave it up.
Oh, and they lost that time.
They are doing this a lot. They are coming back to tie or go ahead, and the bullpen just goes.
Yeah, the bullpen was good last year towards the end, and they were supposed to be better this year, but they have not.
They were good for the first, couple months.
Yeah, they were.
But the last 4 weeks, they have not been.
Well, yeah, a lot of those key pieces have been hurt and just not very good.
Sir Anthony's not the same.
He's
Kimbrel's been getting hit.
Yeah.
Soto's not been good.
Yeah, and what's the name's coming back? What's the other
Alvarado.
Alvarado, yeah.
Yeah,
So he'll be okay, I think. But I think Kimbrel and him will be okay. But Soto's not been good. Sir Anthony he's worthless right
yeah, yes, and the thing is, he's got good stuff, but then he just lays one out in the middle of the plate. The kid that's doing really, really well, probably unsung hero of the team, is that kid Hoffman in
Yeah,
the bullpen.
Hoffman.
He's been really good.
He has been good the last couple of month or a couple of weeks, right? Maybe 6 weeks or whatever. Yeah. What's their chances though? I mean, so they'll probably get the Cubs in the first round. I mean, they should win that, but then they're going to probably get Atlanta. Can they beat Atlanta again?
I want to say yes.
I
I
know.
really, really, really want to say yes. Look at their lineup. You see Atlanta's lineup?
And they're healthy this year.
I mean, they have guys up and down the lineup hitting home runs, RBIs. It's going to be really, really challenging.
And the pitching's not that much less shabby.
I mean, they're how many games ahead of the Phillies? And well, I don't keep track because it's so
15 or
far.
16, somewhere.
There's that for a reason. Um,
I mean, they've been winning. They've been winning almost two-thirds of their games. I mean, they have not had a slump all year. All year. This the Phillies won like 8 out of 10 like a week ago,
and didn't gain
and
ground.
they came around. Yeah,
Here's the other thing with that. I don't know. Do they reseed after the first round or no? Or are you just locked into a bracket?
I forget.
Because the two division winners with the bye are going to be
Yeah, it's not going to matter,
the
right?
Dodgers and the Braves, right?
Right. So they're going to get one or the other.
Yeah.
No, I think I think they get the Braves. I think it's the way it works.
Yeah. I think if they're locked into the top wild card, then the Central plays the bottom wild card. We play the second wild card in
Right.
the first round. We need those 3 games at home.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be the Cubs.
Yeah.
And then I guess
I mean, can they beat either one of them? Really, there's a question.
I'm much more optimistic about the Dodgers than I am.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they can because just like it turned in really one game,
Mm-hmm.
that Braves game where they really should have lost that game.
Yes.
It just changed the series. So I think that yes, they can, but I don't think it's likely.
Against the Braves, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's likely. I think they have a
Although
better
they are
chance.
really fucking hitting right now.
They scored 8 runs and lost today.
Yeah. I mean, if they and Nola hasn't been the same as he was last year. I don't know. Yeah, I do have confidence in what's his name?
Wheeler,
Well, Wheeler, yes, and then who's the third pitcher? He just came back from injury.
oh, Ranger Suarez.
Well, just as far as I like that, that kid's got ice cold blood.
He is
So
the anti-Nola.
he is the anti.
Nothing phases Ranger Suarez. He's a good fielder. He never seems stressed. As soon as Nola gives up a big hit, it's done.
Yeah, it doesn't really show on his face, but it's over and over again.
We were talking about this at the fantasy draft,
Yeah,
right? And he did it again the other night. He threw 4 innings
beautiful.
and just gorgeous. And then he got
Yeah,
one out in the fifth, and then he gave up a line drive home run, and then gave up like 5 straight hits.
yeah, it has to be mental. He's striking people out, man. He's still got really good stuff.
Get it?
So it's definitely a mental block right now.
It's one of two things. One is the contract,
Yeah.
or that pitch clock is in his freaking head.
Well, yeah. I mean, he even said as much though a little bit.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
We're 3/4 of the way through the season. You should be able to handle that.
yeah. Any any thoughts on the 76ers?
None. None. I'm so tired.
Yeah,
The process. I don't have a lot of interest. I didn't like Harden when they got him. I like him less now.
yeah. Well, yeah. It's 3 teams in a row now he's given up on.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, he's
he's written his own ticket out of 3 places. You think, why did you think it was going to be different here?
yeah. Yeah, 2 other places. I mean, he couldn't make it work with two of the fucking top 10 players in the league. How are you going to make it work here?
I don't
And
think
he's not the same player as he used to be.
no,
Of course, no. He's 33, 34 years old. I mean,
and he's not one that keeps himself in shape. Well,
no,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Round is a shape.
it is. I
He's
mean,
not in good shape.
yeah, he does like to practice at strip clubs, but which
He's
is, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's fine.
he's got good form.
He's got good form, but yeah, he's a problem. I mean, they just keep making. I went over this in one of my podcasts about all the errors that they made. Like the process as a theory was not a bad theory. The problem is their execution. They fucked up way too many draft picks. That's what happened.
Two that really just annoyed the hell out of me. One was Markel Fultz.
I mean, it's a terrible.
And when they could have gotten, was it Tatum? No, not Tatum.
Well, Tatum, yeah,
It was Tatum that they could have just
De'Aaron Fox was the other one.
crazy. And then
They didn't have to trade. So even if you say like the Celtics probably would have took Tatum with the first pick if they didn't trade out of it.
you wouldn't know how to trade all the picks he did
Right,
to move on.
right. But Markel Fultz was a reach. It was a reach at the time. He had one good year at fucking Washington or Washington State, whatever the hell it was.
Just Washington, not a hotbed of basketball.
Right. And the knock on him is that he couldn't shoot. He's a fucking point guard that couldn't shoot. You already had a point guard that couldn't shoot. It didn't make sense at the time.
Tatum was a better fit.
He was 100% a better fit. And so were several other players that could fucking shoot.
Yep.
So yeah, that one and the Jahlil Okafor one was the other one. It was just horrendous.
Nerlens Noel. not a good pick.
Well, that was even before. Like
Yes.
that's before the process. That's even
No, that was the beginning of the process.
well the very beginning. But they traded all those picks away by the time you got him. You pick and be good pick, right? But then the year after, you pick Jaleel Okafor, who's a back to the basket fucking center. It made no sense at the time.
No, you're right.
And then again, right there was Porzingis, the power forward. He was right there.
Yeah,
He was there for the taking.
I didn't
So
realize that.
yeah, it was. They just made so many errors. And then they pick the right guy and then trade him for a dude that is out of basketball in a year.
Who was that?
The kid from Villanova that
Oh,
they picked.
don't even get me started. What the hell's his name? He hit the winning shot. That's his name.
Yeah, well, him. Anyway,
I was so thrilled when they drafted him because I was like, oh, maybe we can get him. Maybe, and he's still there. Okay, we picked him, and then they traded him for the guy from Miami, Zaire Alexander,
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah. Zaire
Gone.
Smith.
That's it.
Zaire
Gone.
Smith. Yeah,
Gone.
gone. He was out of basketball in a year.
Hard.
Out of basketball.
Hard. And we traded a really good player who's actually probably the best player in Brooklyn.
Right. He's a 3-and-D guy who we needed a 3-and-D guy, and they trade him for a guy that was a project.
Well, dude, that would be too easy. I mean, to get the guy who exactly fits into your team, that would be too easy.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's against the process.
But yeah, and then again, Ben Simmons. I don't necessarily blame them with Ben Simmons, other than the fact that they had a choice between him and Jimmy Butler, and they made the wrong choice there.
I agree. The drafting of Simmons was the right pick at the time.
Yep.
The mistake was, like you said, picking Butler, who was
And then when Simmons had his highest value,
could have traded him
they could have traded him for
and
something
kept Butler.
and kept Butler, and then you wouldn't have had to reach for Tobias Harris,
Yeah,
which was another bad trade. Again, Tobias Harris is not a bad player; he just doesn't fit. He doesn't fit, and they traded away a bunch of assets for that.
who was the guy, the point guard that we traded after he won? Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday.
Yeah, who won Rookie of the Year? We traded
Yeah, yeah.
because we didn't need a point guard.
At the time, and again, that's back at the beginning,
Yeah,
before again, but they would have won too many games. Remember, they were literally trading everybody away so they could lose as
trust the process.
many games as they could.
How long has it been? Are we done trusting? I'm over the trust. I'm
Yeah,
over
no,
the
it's over. It's
process.
over 10 years now. I mean,
I didn't like it when they were doing it. Like I get it, I understood it,
yeah.
but I don't like professional athletes being put out there in a situation where the team's rooting for them to lose.
You don't need, listen. I know for a fact that you don't even like people tanking in fantasy
You're
football.
damn freaking right, man.
You want to
I
make
went
new
on a
rules.
fucking rant there, didn't I? Tanking in fantasy football.
We have a dynasty league, and a person was tanking, and fucking Steve was furious when he wasn't putting in a lineup that could win.
And it didn't affect me directly. That was not why I
No,
was upset.
that's not true. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. Steve is not self righteous only when it's convenient. I agree with that. He's self righteous all the time.
Yes.
How about you got any opinion on the Flyers?
Uh, who were they?
Yeah, I mean,
What sport did they play?
yeah, they haven't been relevant so goddamn long.
That,
Have you ever been a big uh, uh, hockey fan?
I have. My aunt used to love the Flyers, and we would watch them when they were really really good. And I like hockey, but the last 4 years, I don't see one personality that draws me to that team
Yeah,
at all. At all.
I mean, the only good Keith Jones and Danny Briere now running the organization, so that gives me some hope. I don't know. I don't know if that's good hope or false hope, but it's at least guys that used to play hockey well.
There you go. And
Although we know how that.
Bobby Clark did not do a good job.
No, he did not.
Great player, not a good job.
Well, Bobby Clark had like a thing against Europeans, and
Yes,
remember that?
especially Russians.
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. Yeah.
But in any event, I do like hockey, but and I have noticed some of the trades they made, and they got rid of a lot of dead wood and some contract space and other stuff.
Yeah.
But I need to see a little bit more before I'm back.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for me too.
Do you remember when the Flyers fans used to all drink the Kool-Aid and they hadn't won a cup, and they still haven't won a cup since what, 75?
Yeah, dude, I was born in '76.
There you go.
I'm 47.
Jesus, Mary, Joseph.
So
Holy
it's
cow!
been 40. It's going on 48 years.
Wow.
So I mean that's
They were good. They made runs, but they never won.
yeah. I mean in the mid 80s they were really good, and then when Lindros came along they were good.
They made the finals a couple times, but they just
Yeah.
can't win it.
No, and then
They have not been
and
good
then
in a
they
while.
then they made that one run when they lost to Chicago in four about 7 or 9 or 10 years ago, a little bit more than that. But they and I guess they won a playoff series in COVID, but they weren't. It was a half a season, but they have not been relevant in 10 years. I
No,
mean, it's
and that's hard to do in this town because, like I said, the Flyers fans are probably the most like loyal,
oh they are, yeah, absolutely.
and you don't hear them anymore.
No, I mean, and it's a loyal smaller group, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, they don't even talk about them on sports radio anymore.
no, they don't exist. And now, Philadelphia is definitely known for hopping on a bandwagon once it's built,
Yeah,
but they're not even close to building.
no, no, no. And they have a chance now with a fresh start, I think. But again, like the corporate owner, I think hurts them. I think the corporate owner in the Sixers hurt them too. Like that non-personal touch. It's just a business.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that's the guy that owns the Redskins now.
yeah, the
I'm
same guy.
sorry, the
The
Commanders. Sorry,
Commanders. Yeah,
apologize.
yeah. Which I think is a bad name.
It's stupid.
It's a stupid name. I agree.
I would take Generals over Commanders.
Yeah, Generals make sense, and it has a history there.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Yeah. All right. Your thoughts on women's sports? My last question, and particularly the equal pay for women's sports.
Okay, so I'm going to surprise some people because I'm going to be very capitalistic on this. Okay.
Yeah.
If the money supports it,
Yeah.
go get it.
I agree.
And I will say this when it comes to the women's soccer, they deserve the money. They do better than the men's.
Right.
They do. I see that they're more popular. I can't name you more than two or three men's players. I can name you about six, seven
Yeah.
women's players. They deserve that.
So I think the counter argument to that is that the men's game and the pool of the men for the men's money is much higher, right? So the men's game internationally is brings in much more money,
I,
but not nationally. It certainly doesn't.
I tend to disagree a little bit.
Yeah.
And the reason I disagree a little bit is because I don't think it's given as much a chance. The
Yeah.
game, to me, the women's game's better.
Yeah, it's more
Watching them play,
tactical. Yeah,
I think the play is better.
yeah. It's actually akin to me to some degree to women's tennis. I really like watching women's tennis because there's more serve involved. Like you're moving more. Yeah, it's not just one hit and one smash. It's 150 miles an hour. Again, the women can women compete against men in almost any sport? No, just because of the physical attributes that men have. Like Serena Williams talked about that. Andy Murray wanted to play her. She's like, no, I'm not playing him. He hits the ball like 150 miles an hour. Like I can't compete with that. But from a women's to women's perspective, it's a funner game to watch.
I enjoy
Women's tennis. I mean,
I enjoy women's tennis. I enjoy women's basketball.
well,
And here, no, I'm dead serious. I am dead serious.
I like softball. But go ahead.
The reason is, um, it's not dunking all the time.
Yeah,
It's more tactical. It's more. I think it's a much more fun game to watch.
yeah,
There's a lot more ball movement. There's a lot less selfish play.
yeah.
It's a lot more teamwork.
Okay.
I enjoy that. Like I enjoy women's soccer. I'm not a big pro basketball fan. I never have been.
Yeah,
I love college basketball, as you know.
right.
And why? Because it's more tactical. It's more 3 points. It's more teamwork.
Yeah,
It's
team
more team defense.
moving the ball around.
I don't like one on one.
I mean, playoff basketball in the NBA is fun to watch. A game on a Wednesday night in the middle of the season is not so fun.
I don't watch it.
Yeah,
I will watch a baseball game. I will watch two teams that I have no interest in a baseball game on a Tuesday night because it's on.
well, and baseball's the same game all year round.
Exactly.
I mean, the intensity obviously in the playoffs is much higher, but it's the same game. Basketball is not the same game.
No,
It,
it changes in the playoffs.
it
It
does.
absolutely does.
Yeah,
And
that's the same thing with hockey too. Actually, by the way.
it gets a little tighter.
Yeah,
But basketball is the biggest difference because they go half court. It's half court game at that point. A
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
Defense changes. I don't know. I think, in getting back to your original question,
Jim, I do love watching the Olympic sports too, women's Olympic sports, gymnastics, figure skating. I like figure
what
skating.
about rhythmic dancing, like you mentioned
Uh,
before? Just kidding. I'm
no,
just kidding.
I can't listen. If you bring out a fucking if you bring out
A streamer,
a sheet with you and
not a
you
sport. Is that
not
what you're saying?
not a
Was
sport,
that your definition there?
not a sport,
If you bring out a streamer, it's not a freaking
not
sport.
a sport. if part of your if part of your part of your equipment is furry things that are pretty, then shut. If you do shazam, if you do
Jazz hands, yes.
jazz hands with a streamer at the end,
No.
not a sport.
Okay, I'm really interested in now the Olympic chess matches.
Is there really Olympic chess?
I don't know if there is any more,
Like there can't
but
be.
in 1999 there was.
Oh, fuck off.
They
I
were,
mean, listen, again, chess is incredibly hard. You got to be incredibly smart to play it. And, and you have to practice, practice, practice and be really good, not taking away the skill. It's not a sport.
all right. Well, send your letters to Angry Dave. All you chess players out there.
How about so this phenomenon that happened, the women's soccer gets knocked out of was it the World Cup, I guess, right?
Yes, first round. They didn't make it to the second.
They make it to the second round for the first time. They won several of them. And there was this thing on the internet where particularly men were very happy that the women got knocked out early. Thoughts about that?
Fuck them.
Yeah,
In no uncertain terms. And all that is people that don't want to see women's sports succeed, and
yeah,
they're pissed off because the men suck.
yeah. Or it's the like we were talking off mic about it's the take your ball and shut up. Shoot the ball and shut up.
Shut up and dribble is the saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shut up and dribble.
and they've spoken out in an issue that they believe in for equal pay.
Yeah,
And my thought is, if it supports it, if there's economic support, they
yeah.
deserve equal pay.
Right, but again, who cares? And then Megan Rapone in particular with I think she kneeled or whatever, national anthem, that kind of thing. How that really hurts people's feelings. But again, I don't to me, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. You can disagree again with Megan Rapone and maybe not like her or whatever, but to actively root against your country and then also claim that that you're patriotic, you can't have both.
No,
You can't have both.
it doesn't make any sense to me. Um, Again, we're going back to the other conversation.
Yeah,
It's they're not separate. It's absolutionist again. If you're saying something I don't like, you're evil.
right, right.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's she is okay. For those of you who don't know, she is lesbian, and she has spoken out about equal pay. And people that are against both of those things don't like her.
right. And we're very happy to see her fail
And
in
it's
a
great.
key situation
It's insane.
when she is the most like the winningest soccer player in the history of the fucking sport.
And she's great. And
Right,
and when she talks, she is obviously intelligent.
right,
She knows what she's talking about. She has the facts.
right.
I mean, leave her alone.
Yeah.
And okay, I mean, maybe you're not cheering for them when they win, but wishing them to lose doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me as well. How do you feel about people that actively root against their hometown team?
They should move. Get out. We don't need you.
How do you feel about people that are born and raised in Philadelphia that have teams that are like the mortal enemies of the Philadelphia, like a Cowboys fan?
Obviously, they were dropped on their heads.
Again, this is something I don't understand either. Is like you have if you have a second team, okay,
Exactly.
but how do you root against? It's like rooting against your high school. Who does that?
I don't know. But that's a good example. I like that because no one really would root against their high school, would they? Anybody?
I don't know. Like again, if your kid goes to another high school now and you're rooting for your kid, or your buddy plays for the Cowboys, okay, you have a vested interest. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're from Philadelphia. If the Cowboys win a championship, you're not going to benefit.
Nope. You're not going to a parade. You're not going to have a whole bunch of guys at the bar to give high fives to. I don't get it.
Why? Because because the Eagles sucked when you were a kid,
It's the only answer I can come up with.
or because you have to be a contrarian.
Or they're just a bandwagon. Whoever was good when they were young.
Yeah.
No,
Listen, I got some really good friends that I really love in other ways, but they're like Bears fans because the Bears were good in 1985 when the Eagles sucked. Like, dude, I appreciate that you have stuck with them from all their suckiness since then.
If I'm thinking of the same fantasy winning person,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that person has stuck with it.
Fucking Lou, fuck him. He doesn't get to be anonymous. I love him,
I love him too.
but it makes me not love him totally.
Well, listen, when I was a kid,
There's something wrong with you.
the Miami Dolphins were big.
Yeah,
And I dressed up in I had Miami Dolphins gear. I had a jacket, I had a shirt,
yeah.
and everything. But the Eagles were still number one.
Right. All right. If your dad's from New York and you root for New York, okay, you have a connection, or you grew up in Dallas, or somebody, again, you have some kind of connection, I get it. But when you have no connection, you're from a place and you root against that place that you're from, no, I don't get it.
I once took a trip to.
It makes me like not trust you as a human.
That might be a little extreme.
Well, I'm extreme.
When I was young, I went to Detroit, and I loved Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker as a double play combination. I played middle infield, and I loved those guys. They were great.
Yeah, that's back when you can move. Again, I'm sorry.
Just between you and I, fuck you. And I loved the hat, the Detroit Tigers hat. So I wore a Tigers hat.
Yeah.
And I was a Tigers fan.
Yeah.
And then they won a World Series, and I was happy.
Yeah.
Except if they played the Phillies, I'd still root for the freaking Phillies.
My grandfather was a Detroit Tigers fan as well. You know, second as his second team.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's my second baseball team. I mean, my dream was like the Tigers and the Phillies to play in the World Series, and Phillies win in 7. I'd be in heaven.
Yeah, it's like you know, it's like hoping your sister gets raped. I don't understand.
Whoa!
Isn't it?
Whoa!
No?
Oh, that's a little bit extreme, Dave. Come on.
Is it? I'm sorry. It's
We
hoping
both have sisters, so I'm not sure who you were talking about.
I don't know. I'm just saying it's like hoping your sister gets fondled. I don't know. Like it's like rooting against your sister. I don't know. Like rooting against your family.
Do you remember? Yeah, that wasn't very expensive.
No, I'm irreverent. Irreverent. That's part of what this podcast is. Whatever comes to my mind, I just say.
Yeah, there's no censorship here. I get it. Yeah. Otherwise, there would be a lot of beeps. Yeah.
All right, buddy. You got anything else?
Nah, I think I'm good.
All right, man. Thanks for coming. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're feeling better.
It won't be as long now, so I'll be back.
All right.
We got to pick up our.
What the fuck?
Yes.
No, but I like this podcast. I like just talking about things that we would talk about in a bar.
Yeah. Well, Lord knows we've done that.
Yeah, we have done that a lot. We have done that. All right. Until next time, I'm out.
See you.
Peace.